Every year, students come to my university and tell me, "Rupert, I have been learning English for 10 years and I can't understand people." This is because grammar books don't teach you how English people actually speak. If you have this problem, don't worry. This video shares 5 tips that are really going to help you. So share it with anyone else who you think might need it. And don't forget, like and subscribe to get my next videos. Here comes the first tip. First of all, greetings. The phrases we use when we meet someone for the first time are the phrases you probably learnt in your English lessons, such as hello, nice to meet you, how are you? And these are good phrases, and they're particularly good in formal situations. Those are very important situations. But once we get to know people a bit better, we tend to change our greetings. We might say, "Hi there," or "Good to see you," or "How you doing?" And then when we get to know people really well, sometimes we may use even more informal phrases. Informal means the language you use in very relaxed situations with friends. And people might say to you, "What's up?" "All right." "How's it going?" And these phrases all really mean hello, but they become more informal as you get to know people better. Secondly, reduced sounds. Again, when you learn English, you're generally taught phrases with all of the sounds. So, for example, what do you think? I don't know. I'm going to go now. I should have left. Yes. But in actual English speech, these sounds are reduced. So instead of "What do you think?" someone on the street might say, "What d'you think?" Instead of saying "I don't know," somebody might say "I dunno." Or instead of "I'm going to go now," "I'm gonna go now." I should have left, I shoulda left. Instead of yes, yeah. What's happening here? So when people speak, they're trying to save time. So what English people do is that they will squash the sounds so they can say it faster. And what tends to happen is the harder consonants like T or D or G get squashed and reduced because they're harder to say. So we find easier alternatives. And you'll see in the list on the informal side of the page, you'll see that often the sound of the consonant is replaced with "a." I don't know, I dunno. I'm going to go now, I'm gonna go now. I should have left, I shoulda left. And we use this sound, the schwa sound in English, to reduce what we are saying. Thirdly, reduced grammar. When we learn English, we learn in full sentences, sentences that we can write down. So, for example, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. I'm pleased to hear that. How is your family? And these are all grammatically complete sentences. In speech, though, we will leave out certain aspects of grammar. So instead of how are you, how you doing? And the y is short for you. It makes it faster. Instead of I'm very well, thank you, we might say good, thanks. Good is shorter for very well, and I am completely disappears. In the answer, we go straight to the information. Rather than I am good, we just say good. Instead of thank you, thanks. I'm pleased to hear that is similar. It becomes pleased to hear that. We leave out the subject, I, and we leave out the verb am. This is because the listener already knows who I am. All they need to hear is the information. Pleased to hear that. And instead of saying, how is your family for the question, we'll say, and your family? And the and here really is the replacement for the question word. We won't do this every time, but it's a common way that English speakers will make their questions shorter. This depends on if the person listening to you understands what's going on in the conversation. The general rule is speakers will tend to use the information necessary to get their message across. And if they can do that without using all of the grammar in normal English writing, then they can get rid of the bits of grammar that are not needed. Point 4 is fillers. What do I mean by a filler? Well, let me start by going through a typical English story. As it is written, it was a dark night. The moon was shining. A bird was singing loudly. If you read a story in a book, it will look like this. But if you listen to someone telling the story in speech, it will probably sound something like this. Well, it was a really dark night, and like the moon was shining, and you see, this bird was singing so loudly. And basically, can you see that they've added all kinds of extra words into their speech? You've probably heard me doing it during this video. What's happening here? Well, the speaker is trying to add emphasis and use language to keep the person's interest. Words such as really, so, are simply words that emphasize what is coming next. Well and like, you see, basically, are just fillers that connect the different parts of speech. And these are things that English people do all the time when they're speaking. Notice as well, instead of the full stops, there's lots of ands. When we speak, we like to have one fully connected string of sentences. The full stops tend to get in the way. So the and shows I'm linking this bit to the next. We use it a lot more in speech. Finally, colloquial words. These are words that are very common in speech, but not so common in writing. And for that reason, again, they don't get taught so much in English textbooks or grammar books. But they're really important to know. A major type of these words are multi-word verbs, or you may have heard them described as phrasal verbs. Let me give you an example. So, in formal situations, we tend to use one-word verbs, such as, did you discover the answer? They abandoned the business deal. Why don't we wait until later? But most one-word verbs have multi-word verb alternatives. So instead of discover, did you come across the answer? Or instead of abandoned, they backed out of the business deal. Or instead of wait, why don't we hold on until later? And in English speech, people tend to use more multi-word verbs. They are considered more informal, therefore more friendly, and they demonstrate a closer relationship with the person they're speaking to. We also have a lot of what we call idioms in English. So, for example, it was an easy exam, I had a great time, I'm nervous about the next one though. If we're using idioms though, we might say, oh, it was a breeze. Or instead of a great time, I had a blast. Or instead of nervous, I've got cold feet. And again, in informal conversational English, we will use a lot more of these idioms. So they are really important to learn if you're going to understand conversational English fully. So remember, to speak English in a real way, use informal greetings, reduce your sounds, reduce your grammar, use fillers, and learn colloquial words. In this video, I've not gone into other important aspects of English speech, such as stress, pronunciation of sounds, intonation, how to join sounds in connected speech, rhythm, things such as that. In the description below, there is a link to other materials I have produced on this topic under the title Speak Like a Native. So make sure you check that link because there's more information there for you. I hope this video was helpful for you in understanding how English people really speak. And I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, subscribe if you haven't already.